Everywhere at the End of Time by The Caretaker is an album that I recently discovered via my friend and decided to give it a listen. I was completely oblivious to what I was about to experience, but I know for a fact it wasn't what it was. After the 6.5-hour listen through, I was only left with despair and disconsolation. Throughout the experience, I was not only uncomfortable, but in a state that I can't really describe, a state of memory loss. I'm not going to drag out this video like a lot of others do, but I want to pinpoint some of the most important parts of the album and what I felt going through it. I hope after watching this video you get a better understanding of each of the stages and the making of the album. I hope you enjoy. Before I get into the album itself, I want to give a little backstory of the creator of Everywhere at the End of Time, The Caretaker. If you choose to skip ahead, there will be a time step on the screen that you can skip to. Leyland James Kirby, also known as The Caretaker, is an ambient EDM musician known for making songs that have to do with memory deterioration and nostalgia. Caretaker project started in 1999 and came to a finish in early 2019. His earlier works were inspired by the haunted ballroom scene in the 1980 movie The Shining. His works since then have been nothing but liminal, ambient, and creepy, with his first trilogy being called the Haunted Ballroom Trilogy, spanning from 1999 to 2003, with names such as Selected Memories from the Haunted Ballroom, A Stairway to the Stars, and We'll Go Riding on a Rainbow. British actor John Fletcher described the sounds as instantly recognizable musical identity of British tea room pop, dance, band, and swing music from the 1920s, 1930s, and 1940s, plugged into a multitude of effects to create a replicant inverse. It's a stranger's past relocated within your own memories, a reimagined history of an alien past. The mannered romantic swing of the bygone era is rendered uncanny. Kirby's second project, called Amnesia Period, which spanned from 2005 to 2008, featured abstract sounds and had different aspects of memory loss. In 2011, Leyland Kirby would release two projects known as Empty Bliss Beyond This World. Up to that point since 2008, his website said that work had begun on a new release for early 2010, which will shift focus completely toward the brain and brain function, recall and error. During this time, Kirby released Sadly, the Future Is Not Longer What It Was, under his own name, which was described by Pitchfork as music of stasis that doesn't announce itself as much as its seat. I don't have time to explain more about an Empty Bliss Beyond This World, but if you want to know more, there's many articles that explain it in detail. The Caretaker's final project, Everywhere at the End of Time, spanned from 2016 to 2019, each stage being released 6 months after the last to give a sense of time passing. Each stage depicts dementia getting progressively worse over the years. While Kirby does not have dementia himself, he did say that The Caretaker does, which explains why Everywhere at the End of Time was The Caretaker's final project, representing death from dementia. Kirby used abstract paintings for the stages, painted by his friend Ivan Seal, who is known for making a lot of covers for Kirby's work. In the middle of making the project, Kirby released another project in 2017 called Take Care, It's Desert Out There, following the of his collaborator Mark Fisher, who had been suffering with depression. Everywhere at the End of Time would go on to receive wide critical acclaim. Each stage was released, the series got massive amounts of positive reviews from critics who felt emotionally about the complete edition. Everywhere at the End of Time is considered to be Kirby's magnum opus, or masterpiece. It became an internet phenomenon in 2020. Caregivers of people with dementia also praised the albums as they were increasing empathy for carers among younger listeners. As we can tell through Caretaker's time, his music was similar in a way, releasing music that had to do with the brain and the deterioration of memory. Now for the part that you've all been waiting for. Welcome to the beginning of dementia, Stage 1. This stage features some opening sounds of records from the 1920s and 1930s that were looped to get longer lengths. The opening track, It's Just a Burning Memory, samples a 1931 song, Heartaches, by British vocalist Al Bowley, who unfortunately died in 1943 due to a parachute mine that was placed right outside his flat. Stage 1 is explained as, here, we experience the first signs of memory loss. This stage is most like a beautiful daydream, the glory of old age and recollection, the last of the great days. The static is representing the early memory loss stages, as nothing really seems normal and memory isn't smooth and high quality as it used to be. The song names describe someone who can't really grasp onto reality as well as before and is trying to remember everything around them. It's just a burning memory. We don't have many days. Late afternoon drifting. Childishly fresh eyes, slightly bewildered, things that are beautiful and transient. All that follows is true, an autumnal equinox, quiet internal rebellions, the loves of my entire life, into each other's eyes, and my heart will stop in joy. Each song spans around 3 to 5 minutes, making the entire stage about 41 minutes long. There isn't really a smooth transition, they all just end abruptly, which adds more to it, as each song represents another part of dementia and its progression because of how quickly it happens. Stage 1's cover seems to represent a rolled up piece of paper or newspaper. A Reddit user by the name of Trumer50 explained that Stage 1 looks like a roll of paper or a newspaper. Newspapers nowadays are pretty much read by old people, besides free ones handed out on trains, and so that the patient is still able to keep up with current events. But many others can say that it's up to the listener's interpretation. While eerie, it's one of the happier ones on the album. With some final crackle, pitch changes, and some reverb, Stage 1 was born. Here's a quick glimpse into what Stage 1 has to offer. Stage 2 has begun. With no real transition, it sounds very similar to Stage 1. Semi-normal ballroom music with a little bit more static than before. Stage 2 is described as, the second stage is the self-realization and awareness that something is wrong with the refusal to accept that. More effort is made to remember, so memories can be more long-form with a little more deterioration in quality. The overall personal mood is generally lower than the first stage, and at a point before, confusion starts settling in. Once again, the static is representing memory loss because memory isn't as clear as it was in Stage 1, which is why more static is heard. The songs have a more depressing and emotional mood in Stage 1. The song names represents the patient's awareness of the disorder and how the sorrow that comes with it. The tracklist is overall more somber than Stage 1. The songs in Stage 2 are as follows. A losing battle is raging. Misplaced in time. What does it matter how my heart breaks? Glimpses of hope in trying times. Surrendering to despair. I still feel as though I am me. Quiet dusk coming early. Last moments of pure recall. Denial and reveling, and the way ahead feels lonely. Each song in Stage 2 spans to around 3 to 5 minutes which once again makes the stage around 42 minutes long. At this point, we are already 1.5 hours into the album with another depressing 5 hours still yet to come. Just like Stage 1, the songs just end abruptly, but it does use some parts of the earlier songs in Stage 1. The Stage 2 covers features what looks to be a flower pot or vase that seems to be decaying. User Trumer50 on Reddit explains the Stage 2 cover as a mangled up flower pot with wilting flowers. There are visible signs of decay, but there's still life there. The handles on the flower pot look like two dancers, possibly showing nostalgia that's not 100% there. But as always, you can interpret it as you wish. The songs in Stage 2 play for a longer time and you don't have as many loops. Kirby describes the stage as one that you probably try to remember more than you usually would. Here's some snippets of songs featured on Stage 2. Welcome to Stage 3. Here we are presented with some of the last coherent memories before confusion fully rolls in and the gray mists form and fade away. Finest moments have been remembered, the musical flow in places is more confused and tangled. As we progress, some singular memories become more disturbed, isolated, broken, and distant. These are the last embers of awareness before we enter the post-awareness stages. Like Stage 2, other works from Stage 1 and some off of an empty bliss are played throughout some parts, just very heavily distorted and underwater sounding, which portrays the patient's struggle to keep memories. The main focus of the stage is the patient's awareness, similar to an empty bliss series. Kirby explains that Stage 3 is most like an empty bliss because it's blissful and you're unaware that you actually have dementia. The track titles are a lot more abstract and sometimes combine titles from previous stages, with the names being Back There Benjamin, and Heartbreaks, Hidden Sea Buried Deep, Libet's All Joy for a Camaraderie, To the Minimal Great Hidden, Sublime Beyond Loss, Bewildered in Other Eyes, Long-Term Dusk Glimpses, Gradations of Arm's Lengths, Drifting Time Misplaced, Internal Bewildered World, Burning Despair Does Ache, Aching Cavern Without Lucidity, An Empty Bliss Beyond This World, Livid Delay, Mournful Camaraderie. Once again, each song length is around 3 to 5 minutes, making this another 45-minute long stage. Just like the previous stages, the songs end abruptly. Stage 3's cover is a convoluted mess, but looks like a sloppy picture of a plant made by someone with poor motor skills. It represents the chaos of trying to put together a coherent picture. Others speculate that if you invert the image, it looks like a brain scan of decaying neuron connections, says user Shroomer50 on Reddit. Here are some sounds you can experience during Stage 3. You've made it to Stage 4. It is the first post-awareness stage, in which it sounds more like noise music than an empty bliss like the past 3 stages. Post-awareness Stage 4 is where serenity and the ability to recall singular memories gives way to confusions and horror. It's the beginning of an eventual process where all memories begin to become more fluid through entanglements, repetition, and rupture. Post-awareness refers to the condition anosognosia, in which a person with a disability is unaware that they are disabled due to other underlying physical conditions. The sounds presented in Stage 4 are jumbled, where you can slightly hear normal music through all the chaos. The incoherent sounds set the listener up for the final 2 stages. In my opinion, Stage 4 was the loudest out of all of them due to the amount of noises being played at once. There are only 4 songs in the stage, each spanning to around 20 minutes, making the stage more than an hour long. Stage 4 Post-Awareness Confusions, Stage 4 Post-Awareness Confusions, Temporary Bliss State, Stage 4 Post-Awareness Confusions. That's right, 3 out of the 4 songs presented in this stage are all named the same. What's the difference? Great question. All 3 of the Post-Awareness Confusions tracks have much more distortion than the previous stages, while Temporary Bliss State is a much calmer track with more etherealized sounds. Many people say that the album cover for Stage 4 looks like they're painting girl with a pearl earring, but more gloomy. But to me, it looks like a self-portrait drawn by someone with dementia trying to remember what they look like and what reality looks like, which explains the different colors being presented. Post-awareness Stage 5 Confusions and Horror. More extreme entanglements, repetition, and rupture can give way to calmer moments. The unfamiliar may sound and feel familiar. Time is often spent only in the moment, leading to isolation. In Stage 5, melodies start to lose significance, being replaced by samples being overlapped. Stage 5 is actually the first song in which we hear recognizable English voices. In the first song of Stage 5, there is a voice that says, "This selection will be a mandolin solo by Mr. James Fitzgerald." The track titles in Stage 5 are similar to Stage 4's. They're all referencing the brain. Stage 5 Advanced Plaque Entanglements. Stage 5 Advanced Plaque Entanglements. Stage 5 Synapse Retrogenesis. Stage 5 Sudden Time Regression into Isolation. 2 out of the 4 tracks seem to mention plaque entanglements, which would be referring to the plaque buildup in the brain which caused dementia in the first place. The 3rd song mentions synapse retrogenesis, which is the process by which degenerative mechanisms in dementia reverse those of normal human development. The final song on the stage, Sudden Time Regression into Isolation, mentions the increase in isolation where the patient feels alone because of the lack of memories and the people they do not recognize around them. We aren't finished yet though. You've made it to Stage 6. Post-awareness Stage 6 is without description. Stage 6 has little to no detail. There's a lack of instruments and sounds, unlike Stage 4 and 5.
This could mean multiple things, but the most popular speculation is that it could represent the patient's empty feelings. The song names, that's a different story. They aren't clinical names, but rather more emotional and dark names, such as Stage 6, a confusion so thick you forget forgetting. Stage 6, a brutal bliss beyond this empty defeat. Stage 6, long decline is over. And Stage 6, place in the world fades away. Once again, each song is around 20 to 30 minutes, making the stage around 85 minutes long. Stage 6 has sounds of hissing and crackling, which in general consists of sound collages where the music is distant but listenable. It's mostly distorted, postured sounds that span out for 20 minutes with some occasional static that comes in every once in a while. The cover for Stage 6 seems to be a canvas, which people have speculated that it could either be facing away from us or towards us. If it's facing away, there's a beautiful art piece on it that is being hidden from us. If it's facing towards us, a project that hasn't been started yet, the tape representing the dimensions of the painting. And with that in mind, I present to you the final 6 minutes of Everywhere at the End of Time.
We made it. The final 6 minutes of the album is probably one of the saddest things I've heard in a while. It's possibly one of the most unique sections in the entirety of the album. It represents the final minutes of your life, your final memories being swept away. It features clear choral sounds from a degraded vinyl, and the original sample is from a song made in the 1700s performed by Johann Sebastian Bach. This song was actually used earlier in the Caretaker's Selected Memories album named Friends Past Reunited. The beginning of the song also sampled real hospital sounds. Many people say that the album depicts terminal lucidity while portraying the patient's soul moving to the afterlife. After hours of listening to static, white noise, and ambient bass tracks, this song came as a real surprise to listen to after that long. It's safe to say that this album made me rethink dementia and the true severity of it. It's crazy how someone can express so much emotion in an album to the point where you actually feel the feelings. The album ends with a minute of silence, representing death from dementia. That about wraps things up. Throughout the making of the script and video, I was re-listening to the stages and some of the songs to make this as real as possible. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you haven't already, go check out Everywhere at the End of Time. I'll link the entire album in the description alongside with all the sources used. It's a true masterpiece and something I would recommend to anybody. That is if you have the time, of course. It's an experience that I've never gone through before, and I want to thank Leyland Kirby and Ivan Seal for making this true masterpiece in artwork. Thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I spent a while making this video, and all the support is greatly appreciated. Goodbye everyone, and stay safe out there. And yes, I am using Next was outro. Don't ask.